Welcome to the Real Aesthetic Podcast, a real deal on like aesthetics and stuff.
Oh, we've been rolling this whole time.
He was my gopher.
I'm your host, Alexis Arsenis. We're going to have a good time here. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Real Aesthetic Podcast. Today we're doing a little bit of a different show. We're doing our Business Spotlight series, which is super exciting, talking to local business owners and really all types of businesses. So today we have someone who I probably could use in my own life very much. Kim, and it's Howe, right?
Yes.
That's how you would pronounce it,
Yes.
Kim Howe.
Yep.
And she owns How to Organize.
Yep. We
And I
call it
think it's
H2O for short.
H2O. That's
Yes.
so cute.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
how did you come up with the name?
So years and years ago, I actually had an event planning company called How to Party. And
Okay.
so people loved that. And then that just, fizzled out. People just didn't want to pay a lot of money to have someone come in and plan a party for them.
Really?
Yep. So, I was telling you, I had a baby, raised the baby, worked and all that type of stuff. And then came out of corporate 6 months ago, essentially. And, I've always wanted to do professional organization, just never had the opportunity to start a business. And I was just trying to figure out a really catchy name again that people would
Mhm.
remember. And I was just like, well, I think we need to go with the how to again and then
Yeah.
organize. And then I was like, oh my gosh, we could call it H2O for sure.
That's so
That's
cute.
kind of where I landed. Yeah.
So prior to doing this, what were you doing? Because I feel like you didn't start in business right away. We are not open for years. Like we're 6
No.
months old, right?
We're 6 months old.
That's super
Yeah.
new.
Yeah.
How do you
hopefully.
feel?
Scared. Excited, but I came from corporate HR for 25 plus years.
That sounds fun.
So no, it's a burnout. It's a burnout role in benefits. So taking care of
Okay.
people all day, every day, and I just for a long time I've kind of felt like this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And then when I became unemployed, I actually saw a job listed for a professional organizer, and I
Okay.
interviewed with the company, did take the job, and when I went to sign the employment agreement, it was very crazy. It was literally going to sign my soul away to this company.
Really?
It was like a non-compete for 3 years in like the
Those don't
tri-state
hold up in court, just so
area.
you know.
Well, that's great to know.
Yeah.
So my husband said, I think you should try this on your own. So I said, okay.
And he was
let's do it.
totally down for it. He's
Yeah.
like, let's do it.
Well, he knew I had organized the whole house like 6 times. So he's like, I
Okay.
think you're ready to go and move on to other people's homes. So yeah, that's how it
So
all
how are
started.
you marketing that now?
I'm trying to do it all through socials and
Okay.
word of mouth. Again, it's slow. You know what I mean? I have 66 followers, but not a lot of phone calls for people to
Yeah.
bring me in. So
So you're at the part in your business where it's like it's real infancy, where the struggle is really difficult because
yes,
you're trying to deal with the client acquisition, getting these new clients, and it's expensive, right? So if you're doing
Right.
ads and things like that,
yes.
it's expensive. So
Yeah.
are you working with any sort of like marketing person to help you, or are you relying on your own? Or your children helping your daughter or son?
My daughter.
So is your daughter helping you with
a
this?
little bit.
Or
So she's in the beauty industry,
okay,
just like yourself. So she's taught me a little bit about, Instagram and all that type of stuff. I've been on Facebook forever. So, trying to put what the business should be putting out into socials, but, not having a marketing background. I do have a friend this isn't what she does, but she's amazing at it. So I meet with her monthly. She's giving me all different kinds of approaches. She's getting me into the doors to do, speaking engagements and stuff like
yeah.
that. But it's all very organic.
I mean,
Primarily me.
to go from being in HR for 25 years, you said you were there?
25 years with one company. I've been
Yeah.
at it over 30.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you're doing this like at a desk 30 years
30 years.
and you're just like, I'm done.
I'm tired.
I'm tired of working for
Battered.
someone else
Yeah.
and I'm just going to do my own thing. That's a big risk.
It is.
That's
Terrified. Yeah.
Exactly. That's a really big risk. How did you and your family kind of adapt to that? Because it's like you're used to this solid income all the
Right.
time.
Yep.
And then now it's like,
Well, thank goodness for unemployment, right?
yeah, there you go.
Thankfully, my husband has been the breadwinner and he holds the insurance, the benefits, which
Love
is
that.
huge, right? So we didn't panic when I lost my job and that type of thing. So, I got a little bit of a severance plus the unemployment. That's bought me
Nice.
some time, So the struggle now is, can the business take off so I don't have to go find some type of a even part-time corporate job to,
Yeah.
bring in a
That's
little bit of
always the
money.
struggle because if you wanna be successful, it needs to be 100% of your time.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you're put in other directions, it may not you may not be as
Right.
successful,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear from people like from you that's 30 years in one job and then be like, I'm just gonna open my own business.
Yeah.
The stress, because I know what it's like. The studio itself, um, here is 6 months old. We've been doing this
Oh,
outside, but the studio itself here is roughly, are we almost a year? What are we at?
You're pretty. No, September will be here.
ooh,
September
yeah,
will be a
okay.
year. So there is struggles, right? Like you go through these crazy up and downs. Fortunately for us, Nick is the media mastermind.
Very cool.
So
He has my dream job.
yeah.
My other dream job.
No, believe me, no, I
I
don't.
was gonna say I don't know if he agrees with that.
Conceptual dream job then.
Yeah.
So if you didn't do this, was media and stuff like that something you wanted to do?
No, well, back as a kid, I loved like listening to the DJs, and I'm so I love how music makes everything, the
Yeah.
background of music and all of that. So I had interest in that. I took like a voiceover class at one point,
That's
just
cool.
really really cool stuff. But it just I didn't make it happen. So here I am, second half of my life. I'm gonna try and make things happen.
You're like, I'm gonna organize houses.
Yeah, hopefully,
So do you
yeah.
have any like stories of houses that you've done that you're like, oh my God, maybe I bit off more than I can chew?
Not yet.
Oh, well,
No,
that's good.
always open to a challenge for sure. A couple people have brought me in and said, it's really crazy. I want your ideas, but I got to do a lot of work first. And I'm like, you really don't. But there's a lot of shame involved with people and how they
Mhm.
keep their homes, which I am not here for. Like, there's a lot of organizers out there. There's a lot of shows out there that kind of, make that environment and
Do you
that
watch Hoarders a lot?
I do watch Hoarders, and I'm watching it because I find it's a big miss for
Mhm.
the actual people who are on the show. So I'm hoping there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing on TV,
Mhm.
but I find that the professionals are missing the mark on those shows,
In what way?
I think they're just missing the story of the people who are having these hoarding, journeys.
Problems.
Yeah. So, a lot of times I'm watching the body language or what these people are saying. And, the professional is just focused on getting the job done. And they need to, because it's a very extreme situation,
Yeah.
right? So I understand that. But, I think a lot of people are on different types of mental health journeys and they're not addressing that, where I think you
Yeah.
need to be addressing that in order to fix the environment around people. I mean,
I agree.
people's environment are reflective of what's going on in their minds,
And what's to
right?
say you don't clean it up and it just happens again?
Well, yeah, because you're not helping them understand their problem, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people struggle with organization and how their home environment is because they're trying to do something that the brain doesn't understand.
Mhm.
So I would say the vast majority of organizing systems do not work. And that's
Okay.
actually been proven. And that's because all of these systems are built for micro organization in hidden type, um, you know, you put your stuff away behind a door, behind a drawer, and a lot of people's brains do not like that. So they can't keep up with those systems. They fail. And
See, I
then
love that.
and
I'm
then it
like,
becomes a self-fulfilling
put it in a bin,
prophecy.
label it, and then put it in the closet. I don't want to see it.
Okay, so you're a hidden organizer.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know
Yeah.
there
There's
was a type.
there's more, probably more than 4 types, but
Okay.
so this all, like we were talking about, this all came very quickly. So my husband gave me a book for Christmas called The Clutter Connection. It's by this amazing author, Cassandra Arson. She's phenomenal. And she came up with a system called the Clutter Bug personality.
Okay.
She's got a quiz online if people want to check it out. And essentially what she figured out was there's about 4 ways people think about how to organize in their stuff. Okay. So people are either visual organizers, they want to have their stuff out, maybe because they're afraid they're going to forget about it, or they just want to
Okay.
have their stuff around them, or they want it hidden. So that's one piece of it.
Okay.
And then how you organize your stuff, whether it's out or it's hidden, as macro organizing or micro organizing is a
Okay.
thing. So if you go into the container store, right? So
So
everything,
overwhelming.
it's so overwhelming. Now, to someone like me, because I'm a micro organizer, that's just how my brain prefers things. I find it soothing to walk in there, but then after a while I get overwhelmed because there's just so much to look at. Your brain
Mhm.
can't take that all in, right? So, can you imagine trying to implement a system into your home that your brain just can't
Yeah.
comprehend.
Do you
You're
ever
going
have
to
a mix
fail.
of people that are like both?
Yes. Oh,
Because
yes,
I like to
absolutely.
organize like that, but like my kitchen, I hate upper cabinets.
Okay.
So I have open shelving,
Okay.
which also limits like the stuff you can collect. And
Yes.
it always
Yes.
has to be
So you
like
figure that out for
6
yourself.
glasses, like it's just very
Yeah.
clean. Like my husband's in
Yeah.
construction, so for me it's
Okay.
like it always needs to look nice.
Yes, for me too. I'm a visual person in that how the space looks affects how I feel. Now, I think that happens for everybody. It's just to what severity or degree
Yeah.
that it affects them. So Cassandra calls herself Cass. She came up with 4 different types of clutter bugs, which is
Okay.
really, really cool. So the butterfly she took is somebody who loves a lot of their stuff all out, right?
Okay.
And then macro organized, so very simple organization, not a lot of categories, right?
Oh boy.
So all your office supplies are in a bin. They're not like pencils segregated from erasers, segregated from pens, right? That's micro
Mhm.
organization.
I'm
So
that.
a butterfly loves their stuff out so they can see it or they need to see it, but then macro organized, very simple bins or however they're putting their stuff away. Okay. Then she said a bee, right? Think worker bee,
Mhm.
always busy, very driven. They are also visual organizers, but they
Okay.
like their stuff micro organized. So you're probably a bee.
Okay.
Okay. So really cool. Then there's the ladybug. So ladybugs like their stuff hidden, right? So behind
Okay.
a drawer or a drawer. But when you open those drawers, they're probably not very organized, or they're
Mhm.
organized very simply. One drawer, I mean, one bin in that drawer or one bin in the closet, something very, very simple. And then a cricket, that's where I tested, was I like everything hidden and then
Mhm.
everything micro organized.
Yeah.
So if you open my closet, right, my closet door is always shut. I don't want to be able to see into my closet. When I open it, I've got columns of jeans. So I have gray jeans and blue
I
jeans and
color code
black
all my
jeans.
clothes too.
Okay. So you're probably more, I think you're a B. If you like your stuff out, like the open shelving and
Yeah,
everything
but then my
really.
closet, like I feel like certain things. I'm like
Yeah.
certain things I like out, but like my closet, like close the door.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
look at
Yeah. Yeah.
it.
No, I mean, that's what you're saying. Do people cross over?
Yeah.
100% all the time. Yep. And then you have different personalities within a house too. So
Yeah,
that
my
makes it
husband's the one that's
interesting.
like throw it in a bin
Yep.
and like it's office stuff, cool. And
Yes.
I'm like
Macro organizing.
oh,
Yep.
can you put the pens in like a thing or
Yes,
something?
yes,
Like I
yes, yes,
can't.
yes. Yep, I understand completely. So that's been really fascinating to learn these types of concepts for people,
Mhm.
but then explain it to them. You literally see the recognition of like, oh, that's why I haven't been able to put all my stuff away, or that's why my husband seems type A. And they're,
Mhm.
explaining to people all of this makes things so much easier for them to understand. And then they're open to figuring out how to meet their personality within their home.
So do you find with your clients that you're almost like counseling them
Yeah.
together because they can't, maybe they're on two different organizational levels
Yep.
and you just need to be like, okay, this is how we can meet in the middle. Like you
Yes.
can do this together.
Yep. So I have a really close friend. She was one of my first clients, and she just bought a home, and beautiful home, all redone. A closet system from like the Container Store, just beautiful.
Love
And
it.
we walked into the closet. She's like, "No judgment," and I'm like, "I'm not here to judge. I never judge. Everybody has their own."
Mhm.
Journey. And all of her stuff was just kind of thrown in there. And she goes, I'm overwhelmed. There's so much micro organization. This is too much for my brain. I don't understand how to work with it. So I said, okay. And I asked her a bunch of questions. And it turns out that she just wanted simple bins. So she didn't want a bin for her gray jeans and a bin for her blue jeans. She just wanted a bin for jeans. Right. So
Mhm.
we went and
Okay.
we bought a bunch of bins and we set up her closet to look like a boutique.
I love that.
So she can go in there. She knows where everything is. Everything made sense for her. And it was just, but everything was kind of hidden. No, I did the same thing for her husband, right? He had a lot of sweatshirts, tons of sweatshirts, and he didn't want to edit it. So purging, we now call edit. It's that kind of a nicer way to put it. So
Oh,
you don't declutter and you don't purge, you edit.
that's so like politically correct now. I
Well, I
like
mean, I
it.
think it's just kind of like a warmer,
Yeah,
happier
it's
thought
nice.
process, like D, right? Usually when you say D anything, it's kind of a negative.
Yeah.
So, and then
I love
purging,
to declutter.
yeah,
Throw it all away.
right. But you're editing.
Got it.
So there's
Okay.
there's actually a show on TV called The Home Edit. Have you seen that on Netflix?
No.
Oh, check it out on Netflix. The personalities of the hosts are a lot for some people. They're really, they're
Yeah.
kind of at you and stuff. But they called their show The Home Edit because they go into they go into stars homes and they redo their homes. So like their first client was like Reese Witherspoon or something like that. And their results are like brain candy. Everything is literally
It's
rainbow colored.
beautiful.
And it's it's nice to look at, but I think it sets up a lot of people again for failure because they're not
Mhm.
learning their story. They're not understanding how they actually have their everyday life. You know what I mean? A
Mhm.
lot of these people have just ridiculous amounts of money so they can
Yeah,
spend, $15,000 on a closet or something like that. So,
absolutely.
so anyway, back to my friend's story. So I did her husband's space the same way because they were both in the same closet, and I, put all the colored shirts together, and I put all of his sweatshirts. I rolled them instead of folded them because my friend was the one who was doing the laundry, and she doesn't like to fold. So I was teaching her how to like roll her clothes instead
Goodness.
of folding. And I put them all like standing up like this in baskets. So I, checked with her a couple weeks ago. Hey, how's so and so, liking the closet? And she said he doesn't really love it. He doesn't like not being able to see what his shirts say. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay. Well, this is before I had learned about the clutter types, right? So I was
Mhm.
just kind of going with what my friend wanted because she was primarily the one dealing with the
Yeah.
laundry, and it was more like her closet than his from the space perspective. So I said, I think he's a visual organizer, right? So
Mhm.
I went and I bought shelf dividers, clear shelf dividers. You just slide them onto your shelf, which is what the stores use to keep
Yeah.
all of the pants and everything in the same place. So I went and I did that, and I folded the sweatshirts this time, and I put them all in different piles according to how thick they were. It wasn't colored. It was all by like, light sweatshirts and heavy sweatshirts and running sweatshirts and whatever. And he wasn't home at the time. So I said to her, let me know when he comes home if he likes it. So my phone goes off a couple hours later. She goes, I wish you were here and I wish you had video. It was like a TV show. He was like, oh my God, this is
I love
exactly what I was
that.
looking for. So they actually have two different organizing types within their space. They have different organizing
Mhm.
personalities. So you just have to figure out,
I
what that
got rid
is
of
for
drawers in
people.
my house.
Yeah.
I hang
Because
everything.
yeah, that's another thing. That's a real thing. You have to see your
Yeah.
stuff, and it's
Yeah.
faster. Wouldn't you rather just hang all your stuff up than have to fold it,
Yeah,
put
the
it
folding,
away?
I just don't
Yeah.
have time.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll just hang it up.
Yep.
Done. 2
Yeah. Agree.
seconds.
If you have the space, I think it's best for everybody to hang
Yeah,
things.
because then I color coordinate
Yeah. Yeah. You
everything.
group them, and then, to make it optimally aesthetically pleasing, you should have like all of your hangers the same color.
Oh, they're all black velour.
Yep, exactly.
Mhm.
And then the actual hanger piece that hangs on the bar should be the same color as the bar. So it's all very seamless for your
Yeah,
eyes and stuff
black.
like that. But at the same time, if people don't have the ability to do that or options to do it, there's still ways to make it so that their space feels, tranquil
Have you
or
always been
welcoming.
very organized? Like, has that been a thing in your life?
All my life. Yeah.
Well, I feel
Yeah.
like being in
So
HR, you have to be pretty organized
To some
to a
degree.
degree.
Well, to at least come off as professional and being able to help people. You don't wanna be, like,
Yeah.
digging through piles on your desk to be like, "Okay, hold on a second. I've got your,
Yeah. I have your
W-2 here."
file over here. Like,
Exactly, yeah, because 'cause I'd be like, I don't think this person knows what they're doing," if someone was like that, but so, yeah, my personality in trying to help people and take care of people has been there forever. I mean, my parents would say I was an old soul or a mother hen, or, I was taking
mhm.
care of my friends in high school and all that type of stuff, so yeah, I think that's just my personality, and to land in doing something that's using that and then
Yeah.
literally trying to help people change their lives and be their best self and their best
Yeah.
life. I mean, I don't think I could ask for more than that.
That's so awesome. It's
Yeah.
crazy to I think that people take organization and they go like either above and beyond or like they're that middle. But to have a person like you, like it's crazy not to think that's not more popular.
Yeah, I think people get scared off by the thought of having to pay somebody to come into their home to tell them how to set up their home. But
I think it's great.
I do too, obviously.
I'd be like, here's a bin of stuff. Just put it somewhere and tell me how it goes after.
Sure, absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
what I would do.
But I think a lot of, like I was saying, I hear so much. I'm so embarrassed. I want you to come into my house, but I don't want you to judge my house. And I'm like, I don't judge anything. I want to talk to you. I want
It's
to
like,
hear what your story is, and I want to get
yeah.
your house to be how you want it to be according to how your brain works.
Well, it's a lot like me. Like I clean my house before my cleaners come.
Oh, that's very common. Yeah.
Yeah. Not
Yeah.
for no reason. Like
It's just how
it's
you
just
are,
yeah, I'm like, oh,
right?
I'll just like pick everything up so they do like a better, deeper clean if I
Sure.
like pre-clean it.
Right. If they don't have to clean up your stuff, they can just clean your stuff.
Exactly. That's like how my brain works.
Yeah.
But my grandmother was a significant hoarder.
Oh,
Like
okay.
unbelievable hoarder. It took us, she had a 2-bedroom apartment in Lynn.
Okay.
It took us 32 dumpsters, 32
Wow.
30-yard
That's a
dumpsters
lot of stuff.
to rid her
It
house.
would have been very interesting to just hear her story. Why did she feel that she had to keep
So
everything
my
she had?
grandmother grew up in Greece during World War II
Okay.
and lived in concentration camps.
Oh,
So she never threw anything away. And
trauma.
yeah,
Lots of trauma.
she lived at building 19 and a half in Lynn and would buy all these secondhand knickknacks and things and food and beans, and she'd put them in these plastic bags and hang them. And cleaning her house was absolutely, and then it was like infestation problems
Yeah.
because she had all this stuff.
Mhm.
And she was at the point where she couldn't even be there. I was like, just get her out of the house
Okay.
because honestly, this is just never gonna go anywhere
Yep.
if she's here, and it's a health hazard at
Yep.
this point.
Yep.
I mean, she wouldn't even throw away bread because back when she was a kid, like they didn't have food, so
Yes.
even if it was molded, like she would never throw it away.
Yep.
So and she's eating it. So I'm like, we're not
Whoa.
doing this.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
she's 97. I
Okay.
swear it's from like the penicillin from the mold growth that she's
Something's
still
working for
kicking.
her,
I
yes.
think that's what's working for her.
Yes. Yeah.
But she would hoard like all her money. So she had a house for 60 years and never put any money into it. So any money she made from the rents from her 3 families, she'd hide.
Yep.
So there was like pill bottles with money, and like
Wild.
we had to go, like
What an
it wasn't like
adventure.
one of those hoarding shows that you watch where people can just come in and got junk just takes your things.
Yeah.
We had to look through every pocket.
Yeah.
She had I think it was like 2 days we did it, and there was 600 coats. And we just hung them all up, and
Yeah.
people on the fence outside, and
Yep.
people just took them.
That's
I was like,
fantastic.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it was the most crazy. We were in
Yeah.
hazmat suits for a
Yeah.
lot of it.
Oh, yeah.
It
Yeah.
was just out of control. I don't know if I could deal with that on a professional level. I mean, I love my grandmother. She
Yeah.
lives with my mom now. She's not allowed to hoard anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
She does though.
They-
She has
yeah, I mean,
they have
that is the way she's
tendencies.
wired because of it seems like a lot of trauma. I mean, just in the little
She
that you
steals
told me.
things. Like you can't have sunglasses. If you leave your sunglasses out, like she'll take your sunglasses.
What's she gonna do with all the sunglasses?
I don't know. She doesn't leave the house. Like she doesn't even go outside. Like she just or knives.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Knives, scissors. I know this sounds very.
Those are
we're safe at home. Don't worry, everybody.
but there's a weapon. I mean, like, thinking about everything she saw and
Yeah.
went through, it makes a ton of sense.
So it's just wild. Like, and then my other side is the complete opposite.
Okay.
She just didn't care to, like, she was like the bin, fill the bin with the stuff and
Yep.
then leave it in the corner.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
so wild how like different they are
Yep.
because they argue now, and because
Okay.
they both live with you. They both live with my mom.
Oh, my
Both sides live with my mom.
gosh. Whoa.
So it's so funny because it's just like this one has it this way, and they argue over whose organization type is better.
no
And I'm
one's
like,
is
well, when
better.
you're 95 and 97, what else do you have to argue about? I'm
Sure,
like,
that's true. But nobody's is better. It's just what works for them, or maybe what doesn't work for them. But once they understand what they need or what they
Mhm.
want for what their brain wants, then it's very simple to do. It's
So
just
what is your
understanding.
goal? Like, do you want to work with more like corporate and working with businesses and helping organizers with business, or
I could do that.
are you working? Do you want, like, what's your goal with your business? Where do you see yourself in 5 years with it?
Making a really nice living, helping people.
Okay.
Just get their house the way they want it to be, like a safe, tranquil space.
And
a
you're
lot
cool
of
with
people
like
don't have that.
organizing kid stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Used to be like remember I was telling you I had anxiety a lot of my life and stuff.
Yeah.
So I had postpartum anxiety after I had my daughter. It's probably a lot of why I only had one baby.
Okay.
But they didn't have a name for it back then.
No.
Right? So and I didn't have postpartum depression.
How old's your daughter?
She's 21.
Yeah.
So they didn't have I didn't have postpartum depression, but I had just, the anxiety was just, next level from when I had been, a
Not
teenager
pregnant,
or all that type of stuff. And years later, my sister and I were talking. She's a therapist, and she said, "You do realize you had postpartum anxiety?" And I was like, "That's a thing." She said, "That's
yeah.
a thing." Yeah,
It's
so
definitely a thing.
There was no big. It wasn't talked about.
No, it's
when
very
we were-
hush hush.
for sure. Still, but postpartum depression is more talked about because it's it's pretty extreme.
I
and
think
it can
that
be-
postpartum now is talked about only when it's in extreme cases.
you do.
It's only on the
Okay.
news or talked about when
For
someone
sure.
hurts someone. That's
But I
what
think
happens.
in the mother circles, I hope
Yeah.
they're talking about it a lot.
Yes, it
you
is getting
know,
more
so-
prevalent for people to talk about it. And there's so many support groups that
thankfully, right.
that are there now. So you had postpartum.
So I had postpartum anxiety, and I look back now, and as soon as whenever I needed some control, right? Because the
Mhm.
anxiety is all about being concerned about not having control, right? I would go and organize something. So,
Mhm.
the baby stuff, the toy
That's me.
organizer and all that type of stuff. But it brought me a sense of calm. But the irony is a lot of the organization systems made for kids' toys are actually they don't work because kids cannot put things away in the way that the micro organized design of these,
Mhm.
storage systems are made. So,
Mhm.
my daughter would never put her clothes or toys away, and it turns out she's very different organizing style than I do, but the whole way that we had set up her toys just didn't even make sense to her brain, so she just didn't do it. If something doesn't make sense to your brain knows it's like, "This is weird, and I can't handle it, so I'm not gonna do it, or it's gonna be really hard." Right?
Yeah.
So that made sense. So kids stuff doesn't scare me, and to go into a home of a new mom or a mom with, their 2nd or 3rd baby and there's just so much overwhelming stuff
Yeah,
going
it's a
on,
lot.
would be an honor to be able to get their space, that it's really working well and it's bringing a little peace to the mom and and the kids love the space and everything. That's like my dream.
So there's so many different like mom groups and stuff like that that I would love to, help you out and have
Yes.
you add to. Like you can post on them and all that fun stuff. I'll add you those today.
That would be great. Yeah.
Because I am sure there's so many moms that
Some
would
of those groups don't let people.
advertise your business,
Yeah.
but if
Yeah.
you ask them, does anyone else? It's more of questions.
Okay.
I find that a lot of those groups, and even like your town groups, they don't want you to post. Even the post that we did about having these business spotlights
Mhm.
got denied in a lot of
Oh,
groups,
really?
even though none of it had to do with me building my business.
Yep.
It was to
Yep.
help build your business.
Right.
And like I said to you before, I think people work with people that they like and they can get to know.
Mhm.
This is another way for people to get to know you and your story and maybe want to work with you as opposed to a different organizer. So it was, I think in those groups, you have to be like asking questions. Hey, does
Okay.
anyone have like an organizer?
Oh, I see. Okay,
Or you know
okay,
what I
yeah.
mean? So you
So
kinda
I'm
have
a
to be
rule
like
follower, so
reverse
I don't wanna
kind.
make people angry, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's
I
why
mean,
I'm
but
like,
even if you ask straight up, like I'm a very I have no filter and I
"Okay."
just ask people straight up questions and
That's
I'll
probably
just
why
be
you're so
like,
successful.
"Thank you." But I just ask them, I'm like, "Hey, like if I had a workshop for organization, would
Yep.
anyone be interested?"
Okay.
I think that might be something that is really cool for you. Because in Nick, what's your advice? 6 months in, what's our favorite advice that we like to give?
Hmm.
I feel like we always like to give like a little bit of the Alexis and Nick touch to everything.
I'll
Yeah.
take anything anybody wants to tell me.
Yeah. So,
Because she's only 6 months in, so
well,
she's
it's different. So,
super.
I mean, I don't know how intense it can get for organizers and stuff. For me, I started out by just doing a bunch of free work, like a ton of free videos for people and things like that, just to get my name out there and have stuff for a portfolio. Are you doing like before and after photos
Oh,
of
yeah,
places
yes.
and
Yep, so I'm on socials, Facebook and Instagram primarily, as how to organize, and
yeah,
I try and do, posts all the time as much as I can, and anytime I do a job, I get, permission to take pictures and post, so there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of stuff going on like that, and to your point, I'm doing a lot of workshops,
sure.
or I'm scheduled to do a lot of workshops, so I'm gonna speak to the
Do you
senior center this month.
where do you how do you set up a workshop for organization? Like, do
So
you go into a place and rent it and dirty it up and say, "Okay, guys, we're gonna clean this place up"?
No, that's a really smart idea. I haven't done that yet. So I was telling Alexis earlier, I have a friend who she just is. I guess she says well connected. She just knows a ton of people. So
Mm.
she was like, call this person at the senior center and explain what you do, and maybe they'll do a workshop for that. So that's what I'm doing next week, and then over
So
in
what are you
Andover.
doing at the workshop? Are you just like showing pictures of like.
So I have a PowerPoint presentation, and I'm kind of just walking people through types of clutter, because that's a thing. Once sometimes when people understand the kind of clutter that they have, then they understand how to
Mhm.
fix that. I talk about the clutter bug types, which people go, "Oh my god, that's so cool." Talk about prime real estate within your home. Like each room has prime real estate, so how to optimize the organization for that
Mhm.
according to how your brain works. So those are the kinds of things that I'm really starting to get involved in. This was really exciting. This kind of like
Yeah.
launches all of that, which is really cool. So I'm trying to get out there and do a lot of workshops. I have one for kids that I'm going to do at as a collaboration with a brewery in PBD in a couple
Oh,
of weeks
that's
and stuff
cool.
like that.
So I was
So
gonna ask you,
yeah,
is there a difference? How Okay, so if you get called in by somebody who has a child who has a very messy bedroom and they wanna teach them kind of how to be clean and like, deep what is it called? Edit their
yeah,
bedroom,
edit, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
just wanna
yeah,
make sure I'm using the right
yeah. No,
terminology.
thank you. I love it.
Sure. But do you do businesses? Like, what if there's people that have, I don't know, unorganized files or
Yeah,
things around, the back office? Everything looks great up front, and then you go in the back office and it's just a disaster.
yeah, absolutely.
So, like,
Yep.
what is that like? And do you have clients, or would you help clients edit their stuff in the back of
Absolutely.
their
Yep.
business?
I consider myself a professional home and business organizer, so I absolutely are open to all of those types of scenarios. So yeah, I mean, I came from the corporate environment,
Sure.
so you know what I mean. I knew what our whole back room looked like. We had
Mhm.
a warehouse. I didn't help them with the warehouse, but I would go back and talk to them about what their plans were and why they were doing it a certain way because of the inventory and the way we were
Sure.
shipping and stuff like that. So I like that I have that background to be able to go
Yeah.
into a business and do that. But some people they're just so focused on what their business is, everything else kind of falls to the wayside, which is totally fine. I get that, but your external environment affects your internal environment, right? So
Mhm.
if your external environment's chaotic,
Yep.
you really aren't 100% optimized for clarity and working and
External meaning what?
so the room around you, right?
For
So
example, like, for me, my mood is directly correlated to how clean my house is when I get
yes,
home.
Sure, sure.
100%.
Okay, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if you were talking about, like, your mental health versus your physical space,
Well,
or
I
if you were
am. Yeah, kind
right,
of.
right,
Yeah.
right, right,
Yep.
or, like, your work life setting versus your home life setting.
Yeah, no more I was talking about so your surroundings really do I feel and they've really talked about this a lot affect your mental health. So I use the example of your bedroom, right? So it is the first thing you open your eyes and look around to and the last thing that you see before you close your eyes to go to sleep, right? So if
Sure.
you wake up and your bedroom is pretty crazy cluttered or it's just not how you like it, but you're overwhelmed by how far it's gotten to be, the chaos that you're feeling it is, that's going to pull energy out of you right away as you're getting out of your bed and starting your day. So you're not starting your day optimized because your environment around you is drawing energy from you immediately, right? And the same thing's happening when you're going to bed. So you're getting in this bed, is it unmade? I don't care if your bed's unmade or whatever is working for you, but do you feel that if you were getting into a made bed, you're more calm before
Mhm.
you like it affects your sleep, right? If I mean, how are you laying in your environment? Are you frustrated because you keep bumping into things or you hit your toe if you get up in the middle of the night for something? Like that all
Mhm.
affects how you are, sleeping and everything like
Do
that.
you
So,
It's gonna sound like I'm making a sarcastic comment, but I'm not, at all. Do you find any sort of, help in regards to, like, feng shui or
I
anything
was
like
just
that?
yeah,
gonna say
yeah,
that.
I love feng shui. So I've connected with a woman on socials. She's actually out of Holliston. She's amazing. And she was saying she needed to connect with a professional organizer because organizing is not her thing. She doesn't like it and she doesn't enjoy it. But it's part of you have to clear the space in order for the energy to really be able to move
Yeah.
around. And there's all sorts of energies, and there's, different energies come from different areas of the house. And if you have a lot of clutter, the thought process is the energy actually can't go through that clutter. So I believe in
Okay.
feng shui. My mother studied it many, many years ago, and I
Sure.
find it's organic for me. I understand how that works.
Yeah.
So
Do
I
you use,
yeah.
like, is it sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, I
No,
have a
no.
million questions. Do you use it in a I've heard, and I'm sure there are, misconceptions and stuff, but to dispel those with you right now,
Mhm.
feng shui has, a couple of connotations. So one is, like, your spirituality and don't have your feet facing the door in the bedroom and things of that nature, right?
Yep. That's
But
next
then
that's next level
sure,
more
sure.
so, yeah.
And some of that has we have another actually client of ours who does, like, holistic eating
Mhm.
and reading your body and stuff,
Love it.
and that's very in right now.
Yep.
But
Should be.
sure, sure, of course. But 10 years ago, it was like, oh, this person's gonna come into my house and burn sage over my head for an hour and then tell me that I, can't have dairy products or
Right,
whatever.
right.
So, and then
Yes.
obviously, like, that's not the case now.
Right, that's
So,
right.
do you use a more common sense kind of approach with feng shui? Like, if you, or is it, I guess what I'm saying, is it on that spirituality level or is it on a logistics level? Like, you, like, let's put the bed here. One, because it looks nicer, but two, you have more room around the whole you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I
Okay.
do. Yeah, so I haven't studied feng shui enough to be able to help people optimize their space to help their energy for what feng shui is bringing
Sure,
to
sure.
their
Okay.
home, but I come in and want to understand, how does your brain work to get this room the way makes sense and is comfortable for you?
Right.
And then if they want to up the ante on the feng shui, then they should bring in a professional or do some reading on their own to understand, what energy is coming from what corners and all of that kind of stuff. But my focus for them is to get their room so their energy can move around the way it's supposed
Practical
to.
based, logistics based,
Exactly.
things like that. Ease
Yes.
of life.
That's right.
I like
That's
Yeah.
that.
right.
I
Yeah.
like it a
So
lot.
so when I'm talking to the seniors, it's about aging in place safely and optimally, right?
Yeah.
So, I talk about under your sink, right? So under your sink can be a crazy catch-all place. And you
Mhm.
go to open something up and you're like, "Ugh, well, I really don't need to clean the counters that much because I have no idea where my cleaner is, right?" So
Sure.
they in there having to bend down and dig for things and stuff like that. So I talked to the senior group about getting clear lazy Susans, carousels, whatever people call them,
Yeah.
and putting all of that stuff in that.
That's
So
what I
it's
do.
all accessible and you can spin it. And so you don't have to get down and hunt for things, have things in plastic drawers under your sink. We found out the hard way that this is pretty awesome when something goes wrong with your plumbing. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I just had to pull two things out from underneath the sink as opposed to all of that stuff being under the sink, getting wet, some of the stickers coming off and sticking to the wood under the sink. So that's what I talked to the seniors about, prime real estate, optimizing their space to
Mhm.
make it as safe and as healthy as it can, especially if they're living by themselves, right?
Yeah.
And they're
No,
not
I
in a
agree.
community. So, hopefully that's really they're gonna love that and, go home and look at their space differently and want more for themselves to get,
Yeah.
things the way that absolutely can be great for them.
Question for you, and do me a favor,
Sure.
just pull the mic in a little bit closer. You good?
Sure. Yeah.
Perfect. Um, if I called you to come help organize my house,
Mhm.
from consultation to, oh my gosh, I have a new way of living, how long does that process take approximately? Obviously, if it's a hoarder, it's a little bit different, but
Sure. Yeah.
basic organization, like, what's the turnaround time usually?
Um, I guess it depends on how many rooms
Okay.
would be involved and how much clutter maybe somebody has and
Sure.
how much do they want me to come in and do all of the work, or do they want to work side by side with me so that
Mhm.
the schedules get a little bit more tricky because they have to be available and I have to be available, right? So virtual, I can do consultations virtually or in person, it doesn't matter.
Mm.
That's usually, I like to take an hour with somebody at least. If they have more time, I make more time for them because, like I said, I'm going to ask them questions about who they are and how their brain works and how they prefer things. And I'm going to ask them about, do you like things hidden? Do you like things out? Do you like things micro categorized or do you like them macro categorized? And then, I've had people turn around and be like, okay, great. Can you come back next week and do my pantry? I did a pantry last week, took me 90 minutes. It was
Wow.
real. I mean,
Oh my God, I'm
they had a
doing my
lot of stuff
pantry.
going on.
That's literally my project this weekend is my pantry.
See, that's like my happy place. Like,
I love it.
yeah. So, but they were overwhelmed and they didn't realize they had a lot of stuff that they didn't need until I was like, what's this for? What's this for? And they didn't want to get rid of stuff because they didn't want to put it in a landfill. Well, all of their stuff was like vases and, florists take back vases. So we put
Yeah.
everything in a box and we ran the vases down on the floors. And they had done some editing before I got there. And we did some editing together. Like a lot of, sometimes pantries throwing out a lot of expired food or
Yeah.
stuff they just don't
Sure.
need anymore. And I was back home like 2 hours later. It was amazing.
How do you deal with clients that you're helping them like edit their space, but they're just not
How do you
wi-
help clients that are tough to deal with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
How do
they're
you
just
deal with clients is a little
yeah.
aggressive,
Well,
no?
you know what I mean? Like how if you're trying to say, hey, listen, we need to clean this place up. Like if I had to wait and ask my grandmother every single time, do you like this shirt?
Yep.
She would
Right.
just be like, yes, I like the shirt.
Yep.
And if you
Yeah.
watch those shows, you see these people and they're like, nope, I'm going to keep this. I got to the point where I was like, tough. You're going to my mom's house.
Yeah.
I'm cleaning this. It's all going in the trash. You
Yep.
don't, and obviously you can't do that with
No.
people's things.
No.
So how do you like handle a client that's really attached to everything that they have, but yet wants your help?
Well, my mom was that way, right? So, we lost my mom in 2020, but
Oh, I'm so sorry.
thank you. But she was a beautiful human. She was a butterfly. She held on to everything because everything had value or everything had, something attached to it. Like Aunt Mildred gave me that when I was 5. So that happens with butterflies a lot. Their identities attached to everything, right? So you start asking them questions like, is this something that you had when you were 5? Do you still need this now? Like, what kind of a feeling is this bringing it to you? Do you really need to still have this in your life? So you kind of walk them through realizing that they don't need to have all this stuff. It's
Mhm.
sometimes it's, I mean, you watch the TV shows, they can get frustrated or they give
Yeah.
up and stuff like that. And that's just, you're just going to turn somebody off that way. You're going to lose them. So, maybe you have to take a break or try to consider it from a different way from I mean, you have to be empathetic to where they're coming from because it is a struggle for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really just work with people and be like, tell me how you're feeling. Tell me what what you want to do with this. Does it make sense for the project that we're working on? Are we going to be able to get to where you brought me in to get your home or your room or whatever, happy and satisfying and good for your,
Mhm.
your health or whatever. There is an approach where if they won't let go of the stuff, but you want to get it so that they will let it go from the space, you kind of get them to build, how about we put it in storage? How about we put it in some clear bins so you can still see it if you need it, but we're going to put it in a different piece of the house. So I would put it like, if I was doing their bedroom over, if they wanted me to, I'd put it in the dining room in bins, right? All packaged up, right? Or in the basement, if they'll let me go in the basement or put it in the basement. And then you say, look, we're going to put this here for 3 months or 6 months or wherever. If you haven't thought about it or you haven't gone to find that item in 3 or 6 months, you don't need it anymore. You just
Mhm.
didn't know how to get it out of your space. It made you too anxious
Sure.
to do that.
Yeah.
And that's how you kind of slow walk them. And a lot of times they're like, yeah, you're right. I didn't really need that, or I'm over it, or I thought about it, and it's not that big of a deal. That where I want the space to go is more important.
I have another question, Lex,
Sure.
unless you have somewhere you want to
No,
go.
go ahead.
Have you, unsolicited business advice, have you considered reaching out to, not hospitals, but psychologists, psychiatrists, people that deal with this stuff and said, hey, I can be a vendor if you have a client who struggles with this type of thing when they get to the point of being ready to call somebody in? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I can,
no, I love that. I'm glad you asked me that. So I have sent some emails to some places. A lot of stuff's just not getting answered. I don't know if it's just going into their spam somehow. A lot of Gmail
I think you need to
addresses
go
go to the
there.
spam. What's that?
I think you need to go there.
I was just going to
Okay.
I
say,
think you need to go and like
Interesting.
even if so for example, there's North Reading psychiatry,
Yes.
psychologist,
128.
whatever
Yep.
on 128.
Mhm.
So I would after you leave here, I would literally go and be like, hey, I just want to is there a practice manager available? And just
Interesting.
introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Kim. I have this how to organize company, H2O. I work with a ton of people that, have maybe have some sort of it's all mental, right?
Sure,
Organizing your
absolutely. Yeah,
spaces.
yeah, yeah.
So I would love to be a vendor here. Could I leave my brochures here?
yeah, never
Okay.
never hurts to ask, and just drop off some business cards. I think with regard to emails, so the studio, and I run a media company. I get emails
All day.
all day
For
long
sure. Yeah.
that are spam,
Okay.
they're fake emails saying,
Yep.
"Oh, I'll edit everything in your hard drive for $5." Like it's like like
It's
crazy
gimmicky.
stuff, and
Yeah.
then they need your bank account and
Yeah. Oh,
routing
yeah,
number.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you
Yeah.
go through with it, so
Yeah.
it's stuff like that. And obviously, you're not that type of person, but and they may be going to spam, but always popping in and stopping by and dropping a business card off. I think personally, as a society, we rely a lot on technology, emails, and things like that.
Yep.
And like you heard about doing this through Facebook,
Yep.
which is good.
Right.
So even making some Facebook posts, but we really need to get back to
Personal
person to
touch.
person. Hi, my
Okay.
name is. Here's a business card. No pressure. Just wanted to let you know this is what I do and this is who I am.
Okay.
And that will. I mean, if somebody did that, I would be more inclined to call them
Yeah.
as opposed to email where I don't even know who this person is.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Okay. And I just
Yeah.
don't ever want to bother people. You know what I mean? Like if they're
But
too
you
busy.
have to.
But
Yeah.
that's
feel
the
like
thing,
that's
right?
the
You're a
difference.
business owner.
When you're a business
Yeah.
owner, you have to bother people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's okay to feel uncomfortable doing that at first. I think when I first opened, my med spa, or I opened, like even when we opened the studio, I was very like nervous, right? You're nervous to
Oh,
like
yeah.
talk to people about things. And obviously next door to me, I have UPS, which has a ton of foot traffic every day.
Yeah.
When I didn't have clients, I would go out and talk to people waiting in their cars to go into the store
No kidding.
all the time.
Wow.
I'd be like, hey, listen, I have some awesome specials right now. Like I have availability now. Would it work for you? And probably 5 times out of 10, I'd have someone come in and like start a conversation.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it may have had there was a good conversion for me, but maybe some days I'd have wins and some days I'd have losses. But they were like, I didn't even know you were there. I drive here every day.
Well, and that's the
Okay.
thing. I
You
think that's
know?
the biggest struggle with opening a business is you've decided and taken all of the mental, financial, physical, whatever steps to open and create your business.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knows that you've done that except you.
Yeah.
And so which is part of the reason we wanted to do this series specifically,
Yeah. I
part of
love
her,
it.
her podcast. But it's a huge deal. Like you have to get out there, and it's unfortunate and it's a pain in the rear end. But you got to get out there and you have to show people and say, hey, listen, this is what I do. So obviously having social medias that are business oriented, that don't have your personal life on there, that are just for your business.
Yep.
And then introducing yourself to a lot of people will help. I think what you do is fantastic. Personally, I think
Thank
it's
you.
I think it's amazing.
yeah.
Thank
And I
you.
am don't look at my desk. It's covered.
I was just going to say.
It's
So, now, why
covered.
did you say don't look at my desk? Because are you afraid I'm going to judge you?
Well, yeah,
Maybe because
but
I just
I'm
said
not
this to him
afraid,
last
but
week.
I mean, you'll be hounding me. So, did you need help with that, or And I'm pretty organized with my digital
Sure.
life. I
Yeah.
have to be, or
Yeah.
I don't have a
It's
business.
sometimes it's easier, right, digitally than it.
Right, but
yeah.
I'm the kind of person. Someone will give me their business card, and it'll go on the desk, and
Okay.
then there's like a spot where all of the business cards get thrown.
Okay, yeah.
And if I don't have drawers or places to put things, then it just kind of all starts to pile up.
Yep.
And I'll purge, or I'll do a edit,
You'll
a
edit.
large, a mass edit.
Yep.
I have no problem throwing things away.
Good.
It's just that on a day-to-day basis, nobody ever gets a whole file cabinet worth of clutter delivered to them.
Right.
It's over 6-8
That's
months a
right.
year, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you look around, you go, oh my God, how did it get this bad?
Yep.
My mom
know?
just came in and did that downstairs. She's
Mm.
like, I just cleaned everything. And I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like boiling the frog, right? Like you don't realize what's going on around you until it becomes crazy,
Yep,
right? So,
exactly.
that's another thing that it's a productivity tip, boiling the frog and all that, all that type of stuff is a concept you need to understand about how things happen.
Do you collect anything?
Do I collect?
Do you have anything you collect, like a stuff that you like? I feel like so organized people don't, but I'm like,
No.
really?
No,
Nick,
not
do you have any
really.
collections
No,
of
I don't think
things?
so.
I love glassware.
Beautiful. Yeah, because then it's
It's
functional and then you can it's visual. So it makes a lot of times it makes
but I have
sense.
like way
I
too
like
much.
I like
purge
trinkets.
You do like trinkets.
I'm a trinket guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I have a friend who I'm a filmmaker. I have a friend who made a film and was getting rid of extra physical film, like
Okay.
on a reel.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I had nothing to do with the project. I go, yeah, I'll take one of those. It's
Well,
cool.
they're cool to
I mean,
look
it's
at,
cool.
right. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's
yeah.
2 cameras right behind you on the first shelf right
Yeah,
there.
right there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Went on Facebook Marketplace, saw them. I'm
Those
like,
are beautiful.
I'm like, I don't even care if they work. I'll take them. $35. I'll
Yeah, but
take
they
'em.
make sense, right?
Well,
they
sure,
make sense
but I don't need
aesthetically.
500 of them.
No,
I got
you don't
2
need
of
500.
them, and that was it.
Well, that's
And I have-
smart. So you know your limit.
I
I
just
try.
have this thing. I didn't even know that with like Corningware stuff was
Yep.
like a big thing.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
had no idea.
Yeah.
So when my grandmother, I'm cleaning out her house, she had almost like not all the sets, but a good portion of them.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'm a anti-plastic
yes.
queen, so
100%. Me
everything
too.
is in glass.
Yes.
So
Gotta
when
be careful of old glass though. There's lead in it.
Yes, I
Okay.
tested, and I just saw this is so random. This is awful, but I have to say it. I saw this video, and it changed my life when it comes to home goods because it's my favorite store. And he went around and tested all the glassware, and all of it has lead in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's still a thing. Yeah.
Why? I'm
It's cheap.
so
Maybe, I don't know.
confused.
Maybe it's just a cheap filler still. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't
Because then
know.
you go lead, plastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So now I want to test them because I only use them. I
Yep.
don't bake with them
Yep.
usually. I usually just like store food in them. So
Yep.
hopefully it's not as bad.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of like baking something in something and then letting it cool and then being able to like put it away.
Yeah.
in the
Oh, yeah.
fridge.
That's what I focus. So we as a family, it took us probably a couple years, but because you don't want to go and drop hundreds of dollars at Home Goods all at one time, it's just kind of hard, right? So, anytime I was at Home Goods, I would always grab like storage containers that were glass. So our focus was to get everything rid of that
I'm
was
doing that
plastic
now.
and
I have
glass.
everything in plastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. We all did, right? Because we didn't
the
realize
push
how bad it
tops.
was. Yeah. Yeah. So now like my focus is to go and get glass. If they have bamboo tops, even better.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're beautiful too.
I love
when
them.
when you look at your fridge, it's all, it's pretty as you're looking at your
I take
leftovers.
Well, I buy raw dairy from this farm near my house.
Yeah.
And they have the glass container and I like love it in my fridge.
Yes.
So I bought the matching one for the orange juice because I was like, I can't have an orange juice bottle
Right.
next to
No, I
that.
agree.
Like, it
Yeah. You're
needs
so
to look-
visual.
Like
yeah.
it needs to look pretty.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah, but that's
yeah.
a glassware is something that I have like a really like this weekend. My mom had the kids on Easter. They slept over yesterday, so I had the day to myself.
Very nice.
And I was like, this pantry needs to go. Like it needs to just
Sure.
all of it.
Yeah.
And I think I had like 3 trash bags full of glassware. And I was like, will I ever use this?
Yeah.
But it was so
Yep.
pretty. I'm like, oh, no, it's got to go.
Right.
It's got to go.
Is it pretty enough to clutter, right? If it becomes
just collecting
clutter-
dust. I'm
Yeah.
never going to use it.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
I'm
somebody
over
else
it.
will. Yeah. Good for you.
I just tossed it. I probably should have. Usually what we do is we put up a table outside the front of my house.
Yep.
I load it up and I post it on Facebook. I'm like, free. Just take it.
Yep. So we're having
I
a
don't know
townwide
what's up.
yard sale a couple of weeks from
Yeah.
North Reading is.
Are you
And-
from North Reading?
I'm from North Reading. Yeah.
That is so crazy.
Yes.
Wait, did your daughter go to North Reading High?
She did. Yeah.
She's
1.
21.
21. So she graduated in 22.
Oh my God, she might know the
yeah.
girls that work downstairs.
Oh, probably.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. And she went right into the trade. She didn't go to college or anything like that. So
Smart. What does she do?
So she's a hairstylist.
I love that.
Yeah. So she's right next door. So she's in Carmichael's, North Reading, and
Oh.
in Danvers. So yeah, she
That's
goes back
so
and
funny.
forth.
She's
yeah.
our neighbor.
She's your neighbor. Yeah.
I love what a
Yeah.
small world. I didn't
Really
even know
is.
you were from North Reading.
Yeah. So I grew up in North Reading. I mean, I moved here when I was 3, but I don't know any differently.
Okay.
I grew up on Central Street, so roller
Down the
coaster
street
road.
from my house.
Yeah, yep. And so I was there until I think I was like 2021. We moved out, and then my husband and I eventually bought two different houses in Haverhill because it was much more affordable. You could get a huge house for the
Yeah.
money back then. So we spent 10 years up there, and then we moved back when my daughter was 18 months to put her in a really great school.
School
We had an
system.
opportunity. I mean, we knew the people we bought the house from. That was the only way we probably could have done it when we did it.
Where in North Reading are you?
We're on. So it's more going towards Middleton,
Oh, okay.
right off of
I grew up on Freedom Drive, so it's like
oh,
right
for
there.
sure.
Right
Yeah.
near
So,
Front Street.
so
That is so
so when I was
funny.
little, they were building all of that
Yeah.
area. Yeah. Yeah.
That
it's
is so
wild.
funny. I didn't even think
Yeah.
to ask where you were from.
Yep.
But North Reading, you must. I mean, you're gonna be busy here. I feel like
I
there's
hope
all
so.
these big houses, and everyone. I mean, I used to nanny when I was a kid, and
Okay.
none of these houses. Like when I was a kid, if you didn't put your toys away, like my mom threw them in the trash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like there was no
Mhm.
oh, let's pick it up together. She'd be like,
No.
no, pick it up or it goes in the
Yeah.
trash. So I
Yeah.
feel like for you, it might be a cool opportunity to have the parents that are gentle parenting and not letting.
Yeah, I hope so. Like I said, I'm on when we're allowed to post on business on Wednesdays, North Reading Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm posting there. I'm trying to get into the moms groups where I'm allowed and not break any rules or anything.
You
like
can go
that.
and stork
But-
ready.
Yeah, I
that
was thinking
group.
about trying to figure out if we could do some type of collaboration, or I could offer like a discount for
Yeah. I'll talk to you about that
Okay,
off air.
that sounds great. So I would love. I mean, I have a landscaper. He's fantastic, and he just has his business here in North Reading. And he's like, Kim, it's tremendous. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people who want our help and want our business. So I would love to just be focused in our area, our surrounding towns. I'm open to
Are you doing
traveling
any
too?
spaces too? You're doing kitchens, bedrooms, pantries, garages.
garages, basements, attics, you name it. Yeah, she sheds, man caves.
Wow.
Anything people want or need done, I'm here to do it. Yeah.
You're a brave soul.
I just want to help people.
I love
You know
that.
what I mean? It's very simple. I love to talk to people, clearly, right? We're
Yeah.
having a great conversation. And I've just always wanted to help people. I wanted to be a nurse way back at the beginning of my,
Mhm.
yeah, when I was in high school and in early college and stuff, but it didn't work out. But I've always, someone said to me a few weeks ago, I think you were probably a healer. You were meant to be a healer, but
Yeah.
just not in the sense of, a doctor or a nurse or something.
Yeah.
But, what I'm trying to do is make people's lives better within their homes or their
And you've
spaces.
done that the last 30 years though. With
I'd like to think
HR,
so.
people came to you with problems and you figured out how to solve them. And now you're doing it on a different level.
Yeah. I mean,
Now
I hope
you're
so.
focusing on fixing their homes and kind of, de-stressing their
Yes.
brains and kind of
Yes.
like coming home to relax and not coming home to like
Chaos.
craziness and
Clutter.
chaos.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do you offer cleaning too? Like, are you just organizing?
So I would do light cleaning. So that
Okay.
organization company I almost signed on with, they were like, we do no cleaning. We don't vacuum. We don't wipe a surface. And I'm like, why? I mean, like you clean out a closet, you want to vacuum it so it's gorgeous when they walk in. And they were like, no, we don't do that. I'm certainly open to that. Like I could never do someone's pantry and not wipe down the floors or wipe down,
Like
the
clean the
shelves or
shelves
whatever.
before you load it
Yeah,
again.
it should be beautiful before you know. I say that the organization is actually the frosting on the cake of whatever.
Yeah, you have to clean everything
Right,
first.
absolutely. So that organization's the fun part for me.
Mhm.
So why would you put stuff back into somebody's space that hasn't been dusted or vacuumed or wiped down or
Yeah.
something like that? So, and I am a very clean person. Like our house is very clean and stuff like that. So that's just the way I am. So I couldn't not clean somebody's space, but I'm not going to go
Yeah.
in there and like deep clean their stove or something like
Yeah.
that. Where I'm, if I'm in there, taking care of the kitchen or something like
Maybe
that.
like another unsolicited business advice would be like partnering with cleaners.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean,
And
I've put it out on the local FB. Does anybody want to collaborate or have referring partnerships or something like that?
Yeah.
And just, I don't know if people are busy or it's not getting seen, but I'm not getting the hits that I was hoping to, for interest
I
and
think
stuff.
that
So
there's like different ones that I could totally try to help you out with.
great.
But it was so amazing to have you here.
Yes. Thank you so much for the
So
opportunity.
what is you have a website and everything? Like what is your socials? How can people connect
Socials
with
are
you?
best, yes. So I haven't been able to stand the website up because I have perfection paralysis.
Oh.
So I'm getting there. So right now socials are best. So Facebook and Instagram is primarily where I focus. And I'm How to Organize. So my last name, HOWE, the number
Mhm.
2.
Okay.
And then organize, the word all, one word, no spaces. And then, that's primarily how people can find me now. I do have an email, so it's howtoorganize@gmail.com.
Perfect.
So different ways to
And
find
we'll
me.
link all of this in the description
Great.
on the bottom so people can
Sure.
get in touch with you if they're in the local area.
Yeah.
So it was so nice to have you. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. We're going to be posting this on a Friday at noon like we always do. So check us out at Real Aesthetic Pod on Instagram or TRA Studios on Instagram as well. Check out. See you soon.